Hi everybody, welcome to the second week of our documentation project. I'm here to invite you to think a little bit further about your project and the work that you'll be doing this year. Last week I asked you to think about, what your focal point might be and where you might actually focus your project for this year. And this week I wanted to invite you to think a little bit more about the degree to which you will conduct your work. In other words, I kind of want you to consider whether this is going to be a quick dip into the work of documentation or whether you're going to take a deeper dive. And there are some things that you can consider as you're formulating an answer to that question. One of them is whether or not you want to approach your work as a beginner, or whether you have some experience with this and are already acclimated to the process of pedagogical documentation. Your answer to that question, whether you're a beginner or whether you're kind of acclimated to the work, it has everything to do with how you might choose to proceed, this year and right now. If you're a beginner, then what's important to understand is that documentation is often an experience that has us kind of grapple with the difference between our expectations for what will happen in a classroom and reality. And there's a tension that exists there. Whenever we start a documentation project, we come to the table with certain expectations of how the project will work, of what we might see, of how students will respond to what we're teaching them, what we might notice and what we might learn along the way. Those expectations often aren't reality. And so what happens is that the work of documentation itself starts to work on our expectations and it starts to change them. And so the beginning of the process can often be one that's marked by false starts. And that can be really frustrating for those who are new to the process. It can feel really uncomfortable. But it's very common and is a part of nearly every documentation project that I've ever been a part of. You kind of start as a beginner with something that you're looking for and with expectations of what you think you're going to find. And then the discoveries that you actually make that reality, it refines your questions, it refines your purposes, and it refines the work that you're what you're looking for and your process, your work. And so thinking a little bit about if you're going to start as a beginner or if you're going to actually proceed as someone who's acclimated to documentation can help you determine whether you're going to make your first cycle of documentation something that occurs within a small moment inside of your classroom, or whether you are going to capture evidence and document learning through a series of different small moments. We're also going to think a little bit about whether that series of small moments or whether that single small moment will be something that happens before learning, during learning, and or after learning happens. So your invitation this week is to think about whether you're taking a quick dip or a deep dive, whether you're going to document within a single small moment or over a series of small moments. And one of the little bits of wisdom from experience that I'll share with you is just that it's very common for our expectations and reality for there to be a tension there. And to embrace that and to see it as part of the power and the learning that happens with the documentation process. When you have time, if you can leave your thoughts below, and you might not have a solid answer yet, and that's okay, but what are you thinking about in terms of the degree to which you'll do your work? Is this going to be a quick dip? Is it going to be a deep dive? And I'm also going to leave a document, another one called Studying Learning. Some of you are probably familiar with it. It's a document that I created for my work inside of some of the schools that I support. And a recommendation to look at the second page of that document as you're starting to plan your work. I will be back next week and we will take this documentation project even further. Have a good week, everybody. It was good to see you.